Using humor in presentations. So a horse walks into a bar. The bartender says, "Why the long face?" "What do you call a person with a briefcase in a tree?" "A branch manager." "Why don't oysters donate to charity?" "Because they're shellfish." The inventor of the hokey pokey died. When they put him in the coffin, everything was going smoothly until they put his left foot in. Using humor in a presentation can have a lot of benefits to you and your audience, but you need to know when and where it is appropriate. You need to avoid many of the pitfalls that come from an unsuccessful funny stuff. There we go. Some of the pros for using humor include building quick rapport with your audience. If they laugh with you, they're going to be on your side. The audience will trust your confidence in having the ability to make them laugh. You can help emphasize key points. People remember humor more than they remember graphs and charts and statistics. You'll keep your audience engaged. You also let the audience see the lighter side of the topic, bringing to light some things that may not have thought of. You can be more relatable, and humor makes the speaker more memorable. Some of the cons to using humor include jokes that fall flat and destroy your reliability. Also, inappropriate topics or language will alienate your audience. Too many jokes. Remember, this is not a stand-up presentation or a comedy roast. This is a professional presentation that you've been asked to give. And remember to laugh with your audience, not at your audience. Get to know your audience. Humor should relate to the audience and the reason they're at the presentation. Let's say you have an audience of parents. You can make jokes about kids or schedules, things like that. Something like, having children is like living in a frat house. Nobody sleeps, everything's broken, and there's a lot of throwing up. If you have an audience of construction people, you can do building jokes or jokes about tools. I have this great construction joke, but I'm still working on it. I have to hammer out a few of the details and nail the delivery. I just don't want to screw it up. If you have medical people, you can use terminology, jokes about patients. A man walks into a doctor's office. He has a cucumber in his nose, a carrot in his left ear, and a banana in his right ear. The man says, "What's the matter with me?" The doctor replies, "You're not eating properly." If you're talking to kids, you can talk about poop and snot and farts. Kids love those kinds of jokes. How do you make a tissue dance? Put a little boogie into it. Also, you need to know your setting. Let's say you're at an evening cocktail gathering. You can use more cutting edge humor, maybe some double entendres. Everyone's had a drink or two and it's mostly a grown-up, so maybe you can do something a little edgy. If you're in a formal business meeting, you can use economic humor, salesperson jokes. If you're at a breakfast networking event, you can talk about coffee or early morning struggles, the drive, traffic, things like that. It relates to the setting that you're in. Above all else, you need to know your personal style. Don't force a style of humor. If you try and do a bad impression, if you sound too scripted with your jokes, don't tell the audience you're going to say something funny. It will raise the expectations and pretty much deflate the humor that you're about to give. Pause. Rushing a joke will miss the laugh. Don't just slide into the punchline. Timing is the key to humor. And it's very important to know what's funny. If you're not sure, ask a spouse or someone you're in a relationship with or a sibling, someone who's not afraid to hurt your feelings and tell you that you're not really funny. Also, don't ruin your credibility. You are the authority on this subject matter. They've come to hear you speak about this. Making self-effacing jokes can lower your credibility. Something like, I've never done a virtual presentation, but let's see how it goes. People won't really respect what you're about to say if you already tell them that you're not really comfortable saying it. Yes, you know, I had to have a balloon dog joke. When you're speaking to an audience, make sure and don't be inappropriate. Some of the funniest comedians ever, including George Carlin and Richard Pryor, are funny people, but only in the right setting. You don't want to walk into a business meeting and tell George Carlin's 7 dirty words you can't say on television. It won't go over. Something like, yeah, welcome to the funeral directors convention. People are just dying to get in here. May be appropriate for your funeral directors, but may not be appropriate in every kind of situation. Also, you want to avoid cultural references. This is a landmine that you don't want to step on. Even if you're a member of the community or the audience has a close relationship with the community, those who aren't will feel very uncomfortable with that type of joke. The jokes will seem inappropriate, insulting, and maybe even racist. So you want to avoid any type of cultural references. No need to put people off when you're trying to give a presentation. They won't remember what you had to say about the topic. They'll remember how you joked. One good way to connect with the audience are personal anecdotes. Personal anecdotes are stories about your life, things that you can share. Sometimes an interesting story can provide great laughter without being a setup and a punchline. Sharing a personal story makes you more relatable, more humorous, and topical. The audience will get involved with the story and want to know what's going to happen. They want to know the end of the story, as long as it's not too long. My Uncle Bill was sitting in church one day, and they were passing around communion, as most churches do. And in this particular church, everyone got passed out the wine first, and then the minister would bless the communion. So as my uncle was sitting there with his communion, he was looking around and waiting, and he kind of got worried about the time as to what time it might be getting. So he looked at his watch and poured his communion wine on his lap. Of course, he was wearing a light colored suit. Stories like that will make you more relatable because a lot of people can relate to that type of situation. So some of the anecdotes that work would be talking about kids or work or eating out, commuting, going on vacation. Things that you want to avoid are things that are not relatable to your audience. The crew on your private jet stocked the 67 Bordeaux instead of the 68 Chateau Lafite. The Cayman Islands tax-free banking system is much better than the Swiss banking system. Things like that may not relate to the audience you're talking to, and they will resent you bringing up things that they will see as you raising yourself above them. Now, humorous quotes are a great way to bring in another voice to make your point. It takes the attention to the quote, and the audience will think of the person who is quoted. They're more apt to laugh because they can hear the person making the quote. You want to keep it short. Nobody wants to hear a novel. And the quote should be topical. And always confirm the accuracy and attribute to the correct person. Just because you find it on the internet does not make it accurate. Now, cartoons are a great way to show some humor in a presentation, and I've done that throughout this presentation. And they're great for PowerPoint presentations because you can incorporate movement, you can incorporate a lot of good humor with cartoons, but you want to make sure that they're clear, concise, and they relate to the point that you're making in the presentation. Doing just a silly slapstick cartoon just for the sake of it will distract from your actual message. And once you do something funny, let the audience finish laughing before you continue your speech. Now, this is very difficult on Zoom because you can't hear people laughing. Sometimes you can see their faces, but don't be distracted by that. Now, if you don't get a laugh, sometimes jokes just don't work. Or they may be not laughing because they're shy to laugh. Especially in a small group, nobody wants to be the first to laugh. They want to be led by other people. If someone giggles or chuckles, then other people will join in. If they don't laugh, just smile and continue to talk. Gloss over it. Don't make reference to the fact that your joke failed. That's another self-effacing comment that can lower your reliability and credibility in the presentation. The audience is not there to be entertained, but to learn from your expertise. This being said, you can deliver your message more effectively if people can relate to you and are engaged. Using humor is one of the best ways to connect to your audience. That being said, I'll leave you with a quote from John F. Kennedy. Public speaking is the art of diluting a 2-minute idea with a 2-hour vocabulary.